I know it hurts. It hurts to realize that the more interest you show, the less effort he seems to make for you. It hurts to feel that your love, your attention, and your thoughtful gestures don't spark even half as much in him as his indifference sparks in you. It's no coincidence you've come across this video today, so listen closely. Showing less interest isn't that cheap indifference you see floating around out there. It's a psychological and energetic art which, if you apply it the right way, as you'll learn today, will awaken his instincts as a man like never before. Carl Jung taught that true magnetism doesn't come from playing games, it comes from something very specific. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that is in just a moment. Starting today, your mere presence will become such a powerful challenge that he'll feel that if he doesn't choose you quickly, he'll lose you forever. So go ahead and hit like right now and subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps me tremendously. Share this video too with someone you know who might need it. Alright, let's begin. Secret 1. The fatal mistake of pretending disinterest from a wounded ego. Today, I'm going to reveal something we've never touched on in this channel before. It's a topic that, if you truly understand it, will free you from years of useless strategies and avoidable pain. Because there's a fatal mistake that many women make when they try to attract a man by showing less interest. A mistake that not only doesn't work, but completely destroys their magnetism and condemns them to total oblivion. That mistake is pretending disinterest from a wounded ego. Maybe you've done it yourself without even realizing it. It hurts when he's indifferent, so you decide to respond with the same coldness. You feel angry that he's not seeking you out, so you choose not to reply, hoping to teach him a lesson. His silence stings, so you pretend you don't care, hoping he'll react and come running back. But listen to me closely, powerful woman. It's not your actions that carry the vibration, it's the energy behind those actions. When you show less interest from a wounded ego, from resentment, or from fear of not being chosen, your vibration isn't saying, "I'm powerful and whole." Your vibration is screaming, "I'm acting this way because it hurts me that you're not choosing me. I need you to react so I can feel validated." Carl Jung said that everything you do from the shadow only creates more shadow, and pretending disinterest from a place of woundedness is nothing more than an act performed by your shadow, crying out for attention. Let me tell you the true story of Monica. She's 40, an elementary school teacher, a single mom to 2 teenage kids. She's sweet, dedicated, and has an admirable inner strength, but a heart full of scars. 6 months ago, she met Leonard, 42, an academic coordinator at her same school. Leonard was intelligent, cultured, with a subtle sense of humor that made her laugh even on the most stressful days. They started having lunch together, then coffee, and soon long conversations on WhatsApp that lasted until midnight. Monica started getting her hopes up. She began dressing up more each day, feeling butterflies in her stomach whenever he texted her. Her daily routine was suddenly filled with hope and new color. But one day, without any clear reason, Leonard started to change. He stopped sitting next to her in the lunchroom. He took longer to reply to her messages, and the sparkle in his eyes when he spoke to her seemed to fade. Monica's heart began to ache, as if someone was squeezing it from the inside. She couldn't understand what she'd done wrong. Trying to help, her best friend told her, "Act indifferent. Show him you don't care, and he'll come running back." So Monica decided to respond with short, dry messages. When he texted "Good morning," she only replied, "Good morning." When he cracked a joke in the teacher's lounge, she pretended not to hear. When he walked past her, she stared at her phone to act busy. But every time he ignored her in return, her heart sank deeper into a pit of pain and despair. One afternoon, while she was organizing tests at her desk, a colleague found her quietly crying and asked what was wrong. Through tears, Monica confessed, "I'm trying to show him I don't care, but I'm dying inside." Here's the brutal truth of this secret. It's not enough to show less interest. If you do it from a place of pain, resentment, or fear, your energy sends out lack, not power. Because men don't respond to the act of disinterest. They respond to the vibration you emit behind that act. When you pretend disinterest from a wounded ego, your silence doesn't vibrate as confidence. It vibrates as resentment. Your coldness doesn't vibrate as power. it vibrates as childish punishment. Your indifference doesn't vibrate as detachment, it vibrates as fear of losing him. And all that energy, instead of drawing him closer, pushes him even further away. Carl Jung said that a woman who acts from her shadow becomes a prisoner of her own theater. Because in order to maintain that role of, I don't care, she has to suppress the truth in her heart. And repressing the truth never creates magnetism. It only leads to emotional sickness. Here's the ultimate takeaway from this secret. If you're going to show less interest, do it from abundance, not from woundedness. If you're going to pull back, do it from self-love, not revenge. If you're going to remain silent, let it be because your peace matters more to you than his attention. Because the woman who pretends disinterest from her wounds becomes invisible. But the woman who shows less interest from her wholeness becomes unforgettable. So etch this into your soul today. It's not what you do, it's where you're doing it from. Because a man can withstand your silence, he can ignore your coldness, he can scoff at your indifference, but he can never withstand the energy of a woman who's so full of herself that her disinterest isn't a game. It's her natural state of sovereignty. And pay close attention, because in the next secret, I'm going to tell you about the Jungian archetype of the magnetic challenge that triggers his deepest primal instinct for pursuit and conquest. Secret 2. The Jungian archetype of the magnetic challenge. Before we continue, if this message is already stirring something inside you, subscribe right now and hit like. That way we let YouTube know the content is valuable and it recommends it to more people. Thank you so much. There's a feminine archetype that activates a man's deepest primal instinct for pursuit, desire, and conquest. Carl Jung called it the magnetic challenge. And no, it's not the woman who plays mind games to manipulate him. It's not the woman who pretends to be hard to get with forced indifference. It's not the woman who fakes disinterest from a wounded ego. It's the woman who has a real vibrational challenge, a woman who doesn't need to prove her worth because her energy already communicates it silently. A woman who doesn't pretend to be hard to get, but whose life is so full of purpose that being close to her feels like a privilege he has to earn. Let me tell you the real story of Hilda. She's 31, a medical assistant in a public health center. She worked long shifts, she was loved by her patients and respected by her coworkers. She was kind, sweet, dedicated, but in love, she always felt like she wasn't enough. A year ago she met Hugh, 34, a resident doctor. Handsome, confident, with that intense masculine energy that made all the nurses talk about him. At first, Hugh was the one chasing her. He'd sit with her at lunch in the cafeteria, make her laugh with stories from his night shifts, and leave little chocolates on her desk with notes that said, "For your night shift today." Hilda was fascinated. She felt seen, admired, desired. She started replying to his messages instantly, buying his favorite coffee in the mornings, laughing at all his jokes, and planning her lunch break to coincide with his. Without realizing it, she stopped being a challenge. She became an open book, predictable, always available. And Hugh started to change. His messages got shorter. His visits to her desk became rare. The sparkle in his eyes when he looked at her faded. Hilda couldn't understand what had happened. She kept asking herself in pain, if I'm so good, if I'm always there for him, if I show him how much I like him, why is he ignoring me? And this is where the Jungian archetype of the magnetic challenge comes in. Carl Jung taught that attraction isn't born from emotional comfort, but from archetypal fascination. And the magnetic challenge is a feminine archetype that awakens a man's ancestral instinct to pursue. So who is this woman? She's the woman who lives in her purpose, not in her need. She's the woman who doesn't give away her energy easily. She's the woman who, even when she shows warmth, has an inner world so vast that you know you'll never be able to possess her completely. The magnetic challenge isn't the woman who plays at ignoring him to manipulate him. She's the woman who, even if she loves you, has a life so full and rich that it doesn't revolve around you. Carl Jung said that the male soul is inevitably drawn to the woman who embodies his integrative anima, the woman who confronts him with both his own greatness and his own smallness, the woman who inspires him and at the same time frightens him because he's not sure if he's worthy of matching her energy. And here's the brutal revelation of this secret. As long as you keep showing less interest from a wounded ego, he'll perceive you as playing childish games. But when you show less interest because you're completely focused on your own life, your dreams, your personal growth, he'll feel that being close to you isn't a right, it's a privilege he has to earn. Hilda, after months of crying and therapy, finally understood this. She started arriving early for her shifts and meditating for 10 minutes before seeing patients. She went back to her Pilates classes after putting them off for years. She started going out with her girlfriends to the park on Sundays instead of waiting for his messages to plan her day. She began studying English online, a dream she'd held since childhood. And something in Hugh shifted. He started looking at her again with those eyes full of desire and curiosity. He began seeking her out during breaks. He found excuses to stand by her desk just to see her smile. Because she stopped energetically chasing him, and his masculine unconscious responded to the vibrational challenge she'd begun to radiate. Here's the ultimate integration of this secret. The magnetic challenge isn't a role you play, it's a vibrational state you embody. It's not the woman who ignores, it's the woman who shines so brightly in her own universe that a man can only look at her with wonder and ask himself, how could I ever be worthy of her world? That's the archetype that can't be forgotten. That's the archetype no man can replace. Listen closely, because right now you're going to learn the most powerful distinction that will change your energy forever. The difference between forced indifference and genuine detachment. Believe me, what you're about to discover could mean the end of your old wounds and the beginning of your true feminine magnetism. Secret 3. Forced indifference versus genuine detachment. If you've been following along so far and you're grasping the true psychology behind showing less interest, listen to this with all your attention. Because this is where most women go wrong, paying for it with years of pain. There's a chasm-wide difference between forced indifference and genuine detachment. And once you understand it, you'll stop using cheap strategies and start vibrating from a power no man can ignore. Forced indifference is when your heart is burning with pain, but you pretend you don't care. It's when you desperately want him to reach out, but you act as though it's all the same to you. It's when you're dying to text him, but you keep silent just to teach him a lesson. Genuine detachment, on the other hand, is when you no longer have to pretend because you're truly okay with yourself. Because his presence in your life is a gift, not a requirement for your happiness. Because you know what? With or without him, your world keeps turning, full of light. And here's the brutal truth. A man can absolutely feel the difference. When your indifference comes from resentment or pain, his energy senses it as punishment. But when your detachment comes from wholeness, his energy feels it as an irresistible mystery. In my coaching sessions, I remember the story of Patricia. She was 42, a corporate lawyer, married for 15 years to Edward, a 45-year-old engineer. They had 2 teenage kids, a comfortable home, vacations every summer, the kind of life many would envy. But one day Patricia confessed to me, with silent tears shining in her steady eyes, "I feel like he doesn't see me anymore. It's like I'm just his life partner, not his woman. I've tried ignoring him to see if he'd react, but it seems like he's only pulling further away." Her words were full of pain, frustration, and above all, a wounded ego screaming, "Treat him the same way so he'll realize what he's losing." So Patricia began practicing forced indifference. She replied to his messages with one-word answers. She went to bed without saying goodnight. She spoke to him only when strictly necessary, and always in a cold tone. But with each passing day, Edward retreated deeper into his own world. He stopped asking questions, stopped reacting, stopped trying to win her back. Until one day, while we were discussing her situation, I asked her, "Are you doing this from self-love or from your pain?" Patricia broke down. Her voice trembled as she answered, "I'm doing it because I want him to see me, because it hurts so much that he doesn't." And here's the revelation of this secret. Forced indifference doesn't create magnetism. It only creates more distance. Genuine detachment doesn't create distance. It creates silent admiration and an unconscious desire to win you back. When Patricia finally understood this, her process changed completely. She began waking up early to do yoga and meditate before getting her kids ready for school. She enrolled in a certificate program in international law, a dream she'd put off for years. She started going out for lunch with her friends without feeling the need to inform him out of fear, because she no longer needed his emotional permission. She started dressing up for herself, wearing colors that made her feel vibrant, not just the ones he liked. Her energy changed. She stopped emitting that vibration of resentment and started vibrating in genuine detachment, a silent confidence that Edward quickly noticed. One afternoon, while she was curled up on the sofa reading with her turmeric tea, Edward came over and said almost shyly, "You look beautiful when you're so focused. What have you been thinking about so much lately?" That was the beginning of a new dynamic. Edward started looking at her differently again, inviting her out for walks on Sundays, seeking her attention in ways he hadn't in years. Because here's the mystical truth. When a woman stops needing you, your masculine soul feels compelled to win her back. But when a woman pretends not to need you, your masculine soul feels punished and rejected. Carl Jung said that detachment isn't indifference. It's living so fully in your own truth that you no longer need someone else to complete you. And it's that fullness that becomes his greatest challenge. Here's the ultimate integration of this secret. Forced indifference, pretending not to care from a place of pain to provoke a reaction. Genuine detachment, showing less interest because your world is so vast it no longer revolves around him. And that is the most powerful magnetism a woman can ever radiate. And get ready, because right now I'm going to tell you how to show less interest the right way, without losing your feminine essence, so that his instincts not only react, but drive him to fight for you like he never has before. Secret 4. How to show less interest the right way without losing your feminine magnetism. If you've made it this far, you already know that pretending disinterest from a wounded ego only pushes you further away from what you want, and that true magnetic challenge comes from your vibration, not from tactics. But this is where most women get stuck. They understand the concept of detachment, but they don't know how to apply it in real life without losing their feminine essence, their warmth, their love, their tenderness. Today I'm going to teach you how to show less interest the right way so that your energy remains a balm for his soul, but at the same time a mystery that forces him to try harder. Showing less interest isn't coldness, it's emotional self-control. It's not ignoring him to hurt him, it's prioritizing yourself so deeply that he realizes you're not an easy prize, but a gift only granted to someone who knows how to honor it. Let me share the story of Judith, 29, an administrative assistant at an auto parts distributor. She's the mother of a 4-year-old boy, a sweet, organized woman, always well-groomed, always smiling, but with a heart yearning for love, respect, and protection. She met Samuel, 34, a field salesman at the same company. Attractive, confident, funny, he had that masculine energy that seems to fill any space. From day one, Samuel pursued her intensely. Daily messages full of humor and warmth, lunches together in the company cafeteria, long looks that made her tremble. Judith quickly became infatuated. She began replying to his messages instantly. She brought him his favorite coffee every morning before his sales routes. She even dedicated indirect posts to him in her WhatsApp stories. But without realizing it, her energy shifted from magnetism to neediness. Samuel started pulling away. He took hours to reply. He canceled lunches at the last minute. His messages became cold and brief. Judith felt like she was drowning in anguish. One afternoon, while talking with a colleague from credit and collections, her friend told her, "Play hard to get. Ignore him, and you'll see how he comes crawling back." Judith decided to try it. She stopped replying with the same warmth. She answered in one-word texts or the infamous "okay." When he walked by, she stared coldly at her phone, pretending not to care. But instead of drawing him closer, her indifference only created more distance. Samuel stopped seeking her out, stopped looking at her with desire, no longer dropped by her desk under the excuse of printing documents. And Judith, broken inside, wrote to me during a group coaching session saying, "I don't understand. I'm showing less interest, but every day I feel him slipping further away. What am I doing wrong?" Here's the brutal truth I shared with her, and that I'm sharing with you today. Showing less interest from a place of lack creates rejection. Showing less interest from a place of fullness creates attraction. Showing less interest the right way isn't about ignoring him to manipulate him. It's about redirecting your energy back to yourself. It's choosing not to reply immediately, not as a tactic, but because your time is genuinely occupied with your own growth. It's not asking where he is or who he's with, because your mind is focused on your projects and dreams. It's greeting him warmly when he talks to you, but not waiting around for more if he doesn't continue the conversation. It's looking at him with tenderness, but without anxiety in your eyes. It's smiling at him, but not giving him unlimited access to your energy unless he proves he's worthy of it. After our coaching session, Judith started making real changes in her life. She resumed her professional makeup classes on Saturdays. She began reading a new personal development book each week and applying its daily exercises. She traded her lunches at her desk for outdoor lunches with her coworkers. She created a WhatsApp group to sell beauty products from catalogs and started earning extra income. And her vibration changed. Samuel began to feel the difference in her energetic field. He started looking at her again with that spark of desire and respect. He'd pass by her desk 2 or 3 times in a single morning just to see her. He started seeking her out for conversations and inviting her to lunch again, but now with a more careful, attentive, and courtly attitude. Why? Because Judith stopped radiating the energy of, "Choose me so I can feel valuable," and started vibrating with, "I am already valuable, and if you choose me, it's a privilege for us both." That is true feminine magnetism, showing less interest, not from coldness but from serenity, not from fear of losing him, but from certainty that your life remains a gift, with or without his presence. Carl Jung said that the integrated woman, the woman who chooses herself without needing external validation, awakens in a man his most primal instinct to conquer, and his deepest yearning to belong in her kingdom. Here's the ultimate integration of this secret. Showing less interest the right way isn't a psychological game. It's a vibrational state in which your energy says, "I value you, but my life doesn't revolve around you." It's not punishment, it's self-care. It's not coldness, it's sovereignty. And no man can resist a woman who knows how to love him, but doesn't need to beg for his love. Stay tuned, because in the next and final secret, you'll discover how, when your energy reaches this level, you become a silent magnet capable of inspiring effort and devotion in him that no superficial tactic could ever achieve. Secret 5. When your energy becomes a silent magnet. If you've made it this far, you already know that showing less interest isn't about cheap strategies or ignoring him to manipulate his reaction. It's about something far deeper and far more powerful. It's about transforming your energy into a silent magnet that forces him to try harder, without you ever needing to ask. Here's where true magic happens. When you stop pretending disinterest from a wounded ego, when you abandon forced indifference, when you start living from genuine detachment and showing less interest from a place of serenity, your energetic field shifts its frequency. And a man might ignore your words, he might resist your games, but he can never ignore a real vibrational change. I want you to hear the story of Laura. She's 36, an educational psychologist in an elementary school, married for 12 years to Maurice, 39, a mechanical engineer. In the beginning, Maurice was attentive and protective. He'd call her during breaks, shower her with small gestures, hug her tightly every night before bed. But over the years, his energy changed. He'd come home and bury himself in videos on his phone. Their conversations were only about the kids and the bills. His hugs became distant, almost automatic. Laura started to panic, desperate to win his attention back. She sent him romantic messages during the day, to which he'd reply with a cold, "Okay," or "Thanks." She cooked his favorite dishes, without him even noticing. She bought new lingerie, hoping to spark his desire, but he barely looked at her. Until one day, exhausted from giving and giving without receiving, she signed up for a women's empowerment workshop. And there, she learned something that shattered her, and freed her at the same time. It wasn't her devotion that was driving him away. It was the energy of neediness that was killing his masculine instinct. At the workshop, she learned to reclaim activities she loved but had abandoned, to reconnect with her body, not for him, but for herself, to live each day with gratitude and purpose, even if you didn't respond. Laura began waking up 30 minutes earlier to meditate before getting the kids ready. She picked up her yoga routine, not to look more attractive, but to feel stronger and more flexible. During recess at school, she started reading personal growth books instead of scrolling through memes to distract herself. Without even realizing it, her energy shifted. Her vibration stopped screaming, "Please look at me, choose me, tell me you love me," and started whispering silently, "I'm at peace with myself. I love myself. My life belongs to me." Maurice began to notice. One day, he looked at her as she quietly folded laundry and said, "You look different, calmer, even more beautiful." Another night, while she was stretching before bed, he came closer and took her hand, as if suddenly remembering how he'd felt when he first fell in love with her. He started sending her messages during the day. "How's your morning going?" Something he hadn't done in years. Why? Because Laura had become a silent magnet. She no longer needed anything from him to feel alive. And that feeling, in a man, is impossible to ignore. When a man senses that you're not a satellite orbiting around him, but a sun shining with your own light, his unconscious understands that being with you isn't a right, it's a privilege he has to earn every single day. Carl Jung said that the male soul is inevitably drawn to the woman who embodies his inner light, because she represents the archetype of the integrated anima. The complete woman, a woman who knows her worth and is unshakable in her presence. Here's the ultimate integration of this secret. Showing less interest the right way doesn't make you cold, it makes you fascinating. Your silence is no longer indifference, it's power. Your calm is no longer resignation, it's sovereignty. And a woman who vibrates from that place no longer has to ask a man to try harder. He does it naturally, because he knows that if he doesn't choose her with everything he has, some other man will see her shining, and he'll lose her forever. Showing less interest isn't a game to manipulate him. It's an act of self-love that awakens your most genuine magnetism. It's not about ignoring him to punish him. It's about choosing yourself so deeply that he feels, without you saying a word, that being by your side is a privilege not everyone will get to experience. Remember this, a woman who doesn't beg for love but radiates from her own fullness becomes the most irresistible challenge any man could ever face. Comment below. Today, I choose to vibrate as a silent magnet. Declare it, and let the universe reorganize your reality from this new power. Because from today forward, you no longer need to be chosen. Because you've already chosen yourself. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to hit that powerful like button, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.